Welcome to Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show. I am Kyle Anthony, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the prediction show for UFC 263, Israel Adesanya versus Marvin Vettori. We're going to talk two prop bets, two nice plus money prop bets we're going to talk about here on the show today. We are coming off a 3-2 performance on our client plays last weekend. A little upset about the main event, but we did hit on our two top plays. Both 4% best bets did come in. I do have two 4% best bets again for this card. Link down in the description if you want to take a look at those plays. But we will talk some prop bets here. But before we jump into this, the thing that really bothered me, I mean, we did have some nice plays. We hit Latifi at plus 180. It was, some nice profit there that we ended up coming home with. But I got to say, that main event with Augusto Sakai, I mean, the thing that we liked about Sakai was really that he was going to have that pressure, move forward, really smother and get Jardino up against the fence and really put out that volume, because Jardino was known for just the lack thereof of volume. And I don't know what the fuck he was doing, because, the whole time Sakai kind of backpedaling, allowing Jardino, even with the low volume of striking, to kind of pretty much dictate the pace of that first round. So even if he got up from that knockdown in that end of that first round, he was not winning that fight. He was just out of sorts. Kind of odd, but either way, we did cash, we did make profit, and we go on to this weekend. Very excited about it. And I will be in Turks and Caicos Friday for 5 days, so I will be out there watching the fight. So if you care to see some sights and sounds, take a look at my Twitter at Kyle Anthony UFC. When I'm out there, I'm sure I'll be posting some things and some videos and shit like that if you're interested in it. But again, nice performance last week. We've got two prop bets that we're going to be talking about. Very excited about it, and very excited about this card. Overall, it's going to be very entertaining, as well as I know we're going to make some profit here again on Saturday night. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about the main event of the evening between Israel Adesanya and Marvin Vettori. Now, we know this is the second time that these two will step into the cage. The other fight was, 2018, a while ago. These guys definitely have matured, definitely changed, evolved. I'm sorry, not really changed, but evolved, gotten to be better fighters, and we've kind of seen where each path has kind of gone. Now, normally I like to go down 3 fights for each fighter. Here, I'm going to talk about their last fight in 2018, and then go over 2 fights for each fighter and see what we see if one fighter can expose the other fighter, and if the line makes sense to place a wager, which we will have a wager on here at a plus money prop bet we will talk about. So, let's run down this fight here. So, the first thing we're talking about here is we're going to talk about Israel Adesanya. Now, you've got Israel Adesanya is a minus 260. You've got Marvin Vettori come back roughly around plus 220, plus 215, depending where you're shopping it. So, let's talk about their first fight in 2018. Now, the big thing here obviously was going to be, can Marvin Vettori, which is still the storyline coming into Saturday night, can Marvin Vettori take down Israel Adesanya? And can he keep him there? And can he grapple with him? Can he make it messy? Can he get in tight, dirty boxing, look to level change? This was a situation here where, it was a split decision, and I think a lot of people were starting to talk about, even coming into this fight, Vettori won, or, it was very close. I definitely took some different things away from the fight. So really going into this in that first round, I think something that Vettori did, which was good, was that he didn't really go and just level change right away. He didn't go in there and say, I'm just going to dive into a level change, get myself out of position, expose myself to be hit. He kind of tried to, mix up striking, kind of bully, trying to walk down Israel, forcing Israel's back up against the cage. These are some nice things that he was doing, and then he's looking to level change. But you saw that Israel was able to kind of defend those in that first round, kind of stepped on the outside, stayed on the outside. Vettori kept looking to walk him down. I like what Israel was doing, where he was throwing a lot of leg kicks, kind of, trying to soften up Vettori, trying to really, demobilize him with those level changes where he's not going to have as much power to try to get those takedowns if you start chopping at those legs. So he did a nice job there, I think, early on. Obviously, there was some big exchanges between the two. Because obviously he's looking to obviously keep that tight distance, not really allow Israel to work his kickboxing, utilize distance management space. So in that first round there, you did see Israel. He was able to, defend the takedown, kind of, bounce off, get back up, move around the cage a little bit. I would give that first round to him. I think it was pretty clear he was outstriking him in certain spots there. I thought that Vettori kind of, certainly looked a little bit out of sorts, because the one thing with Vettori, he has strength. He's got, he's got the grappling, some of the wrestling background. You see he's able to do that. But the one thing he does is he lunges forward. He really does this lunging forward and big hooks. And somebody like Israel, you're not going to really be able to do that over a period of time. And this was a spot here where I think that, you have a younger Israel, into the cage, where now he's just gotten so much experience. I think he's got even better than he is, a lot more comfortable, in MMA compared to kickboxing. So going into that second round, more of the same. It was more of the same. Vettori landed a little bit more. He had some nice kicks as well. But Israel, again, able to, defend the takedowns, keep distance, move around the cage. Vettori definitely put the pressure on, and obviously a lot of people who did think Vettori won or thought that it was a lot closer than it really is, was the fact that he was being walked down. And Israel was walked down a lot, and he was trying to keep distance. Vettori is like, a bruiser. He'll come forward, he wants to brawl, he wants to get in your face, he wants to make it dirty, and then he's looking to level change and get a hold of you and grapple you. And obviously Israel's trying to dictate the pace of the fight by keeping distance, working from the outside. But when they stand toe-to-toe, I think there was some good shots from both fighters. But really, again, that first and second round, I think you absolutely have to give it to Israel. I don't think that there was really much that Vettori did overall. I thought that, again, landing from the distance is what was actually really keeping things, really good for Israel, because that distance managed for him, utilizing that reach. He's got about a 6-inch reach advantage on Vettori. These are things that are very hard to overcome, when he's trying to get in tight and get close. Going to the third round, this is finally where, and I think this is something where Vettori sold out for the takedown. It was good that he didn't jump right into it in that first round, but in that third round, he really just sold out. Said, I'm going for it. I'm pushing forward. I'm not going to let myself, stand on the outside. He saw what was happening. He definitely, thought he was behind a little bit and had to go in there and go for the takedown. Was able to get the takedowns. Israel kind of working back up, kind of dragged him back down, kept top positioning. Definitely give him that third round. But overall, it was a 2-1. I don't know really how it was scored a split decision for Israel, but Israel goes out there, he gets the victory, and really the takeaways from this, and we're going to wrap it all together at the end of this breakdown. But really the takedown is that Israel actually has pretty good takedown defense. I mean, a lot of people are really kind of bashing it, or maybe once he's on his back, he's not that good. He definitely is going to struggle when he's off of his back, as many fighters do that don't have those high accolades when it comes to jiu-jitsu and the grappling and the wrestling. But Israel actually has just takedown defense is pretty good. It's in the upper 85, 86% takedown defense. So it's not like this guy gets ragdolled and taken to the ground. Someone like Kevin Holland, who was taken down multiple times and just couldn't do anything, which we're going to talk about in a minute when Vettori fought him. So there you have it there, as a split decision victory for Israel Adesanya. 2 fights ago, Israel fought Paulo Costa, and this was a fight here where, again, massive reach advantage. Not much that really Paulo could do. He was looking to kind of bulldoze forward, land the big shots. That's been his thing. He wants to get in your face, melt his opponents with big volume, big power, and pretty much, the way that Paulo even fights is he doesn't even care if you're shelling up. He does not care. He's willing to hit your arms, hit your legs, hit your body, mix it up, and just throw out massive power, and looking to really kind of just cripple his opponent from those positions. And this was a spot here where, again, Israel, great distance management. Of course he's getting walked down a little bit, but able to utilize his reach, great footwork, and that was something, again, utilizing his reach. Paulo has obviously a much smaller reach and wasn't able to really kind of get inside and keep it where he wanted to. He goes out there and he gets the knockout victory over Costa in the second round. Great showing for him there. The power was there, 2 undefeated fighters, but boy, it showed there are levels to this game, and he goes out there and gets the victory. Now, most recently, I'm not going to get too much into this because it's a different weight class, but Israel Adesanya went up to face Jan Blachowicz. Now, I did think that Israel was going to win that fight, and he did not. And definitely the going up in weight. I know he kind of tried to stay. He didn't want to gain too much weight. But I think the biggest advantage, and even going back and watching this, was the things that make Israel so great in the middleweight division. He's not able to do in a higher weight class, and really it's going to come down to the reach, starting with the reach, really. And the reach, the fact is that it was like about a 2-inch reach advantage for Israel, where he is so used to just working the rangy combinations, and really being able to utilize his great footwork with that, always having such a great reach advantage. And against Blachowicz, he was a 2-inch reach advantage. Definitely a lot different, and I think those kind of combinations where he's throwing a nice output and where he's looking to kind of just be out of reach, Jan's landing, and he's actually in striking distance. I think that really threw off Israel. Not only that, but also the power. I think the power was a difference maker as well. I think that when he was getting shot and when he was getting hit, he's starting to realize that this doesn't feel like my division that I've been king for a while on. This definitely does not feel like it. And that, I think also, he became risk averse. He said, you know what, I'm going to just try to stay on the outside and maybe outpoint him, instead of that killer mentality, that sniper mentality that Israel always has when he's fighting guys in his division. This was a situation where Jan really, I'm not really the biggest on Jan's skill set, to be honest with you, but he does what he does, and it seems to work and get him victories. And this was a spot here where I thought the striking would be a lot, but really the power, the strength, and the reach advantage, or really nullified the reach advantage for Israel, was the difference maker here. And I think that was a big reason why he did not win that fight against Blachowicz, but he goes out there and loses a decision victory against Jan Blachowicz. Now, at our side, we've got Marvin Vettori. Now, 2 fights ago, he fought Jack Hermansson. Now, this was a very interesting fight because you got 2 guys who are going to be looking to grapple. But I got to say, the one thing that I was impressed by was what Vettori did with the grappling against Hermansson. And there were spots where, Jack was on top or Jack took him down, and he was able to kind of roll out of the position and be on top control over Hermansson. There was really great spots in there that he looked great. He won the early rounds, and then it almost looked like Vettori was going to start to kind of slow down. This was okay. This is where he's going to slow down deep into this fight. And there was about 1 or 2 rounds in there where it started to look like, maybe 1.5 rounds, really, where it started to look like Hermansson was going to take control of the fight. And Vettori dug deep, went in there, ended up finishing the fight strong, got the victory out there. It was a good decision victory for him, a sweeping decision victory for him. But I was very impressed by the grappling. Now, this is obviously a very different stylistic matchup we're going to see compared to Saturday night. But the fact that he was able to out-grapple Hermansson definitely gives him kudos and definitely really shows his skill set overall. But Vettori goes out there and gets the decision victory. And then most recently, we're not going to dive into this one either too much, is against Kevin Holland. This was one where really Vettori, dominated the fight from beginning to end. Holland comes into this fight, has no takedown defense. If you want to see what not to do, pretty much this is what Holland does when it comes to takedown defense. He really, wasn't able to do anything, mauled on the ground, taken down. Positioning was all what Vettori's looking to do. Couldn't go out there and get the finish, but he dominated all 5 rounds. He goes out there and wins a decision victory over Kevin Holland. So with that being said, obviously when we're talking about Israel Adesanya, top-level kickboxing, and the elite level kickboxing, great use of length and reach. I mean, that's one thing that not only does he have the reach advantage over pretty much all of his opponents, and a lot of time a massive reach, and here it's about a 6.5 inch reach advantage over Vettori. This is a spot where, he's really good at it. He's comfortable moving backwards and striking and utilizing his footwork and range at the same time. You've seen him do that. The versatile striking is also massive, where he's not just headhunting. He's not just looking for the body kicks. He's not just looking for leg kicks. He mixes it up very well, and that's also where opponents, his quick combinations are one thing, but the fact that he's mixing it up very well is another thing. Was able to do that. And the one thing I also like too is how smooth he moves from southpaw to orthodox. I mean, he does it as well as anybody in the UFC, the way that he fights, how comfortable he is fighting from both sides, and that obviously is going to be a lot more difficult for opponents to pick up where these strikes are coming from, how to defend them, and of course, again, his versatile striking mixed with going southpaw to orthodox throughout the fight makes him obviously even tougher to pick up where the strikes are coming from, and the fact how he reads people. I think he's very good at, kind of seeing how the opponent's reacting, and then as the fight moves on, start to read his opponent, find opportunities, whether it's, he reads them in the first round, the second round, or even later, he kind of, finds a strategy on the go to go out there and defeat his opponent. On the other side, you've got Vettori, very tough guy, got some grappling, definitely has some strength. You've seen some of the stuff that he's done where he's able to keep guys down, but I think one of the bigger things is, can Vettori keep him down? And we talked about that in the first time. Can he keep him down? That's the biggest thing when it comes to this. Can he take him down? Can he keep him there? And that's going to be his path. I mean, there's no way if this fight is a standing bout, is Vettori going to have success over 5 rounds? There's just no way. Could he knock him out? Anything's possible. This is, top-level UFC title fights. Anyone can knock out anybody. But I just think that the way this fight goes, I think that, when you look at some of the things, people talk about the cardio of Vettori, and, he's lasted in some of these fights. He's definitely got a little further. But this is a situation where I think that with the 85% takedown defense roughly for Israel Adesanya, and the fact that now we're back in the big cage, we're not in the small cage, it's going to provide a lot more opportunity, a lot more leg room for Israel to move around and be a little bit more comfortable. And obviously in the first fight it was the same size, but I'm saying that now, this situation out of Apex in a bigger cage, what they've definitely evolved into, I think that you just really got to look here at Israel to get this victory here. I don't really see this way that Vettori, I think Vettori can down the road be a successful, get to be a champion. And I just think this is too much for him. I think this is really too much for him. I think Israel is a bad matchup for him. Again, if he didn't get that late takedown in the first fight, in that third round, not late takedown, the takedown in the third round, Israel wins 30-27. He did get the takedown. I just think this situation here, he's going to be risk adverse. He's going to be able to stand on the outside, pick him apart. But I think also that this is a spot where I think Vettori's going to be willing, when he cannot get Israel down, he's going to be willing to stand and trade. And that's just the kind of fighter that Vettori is. He is completely fine with, that's it. We're just going to scrap. We're just going to scrap. And the fact that there's a little bit of bad blood may push him more towards looking for that knockout instead of, some of the backlash that he got against the Kevin Holland fight where he couldn't get the finish and he was on top of him. Vettori definitely seems like an emotional fighter, and those who've seen the interview kind of seen that. So for me here, the prop that I'm going on here is Israel Adesanya winning by knockout, plus 190. I like this price here. You're getting off the big number. And I just believe that this is a spot where he's going to really remind everybody who he is. And this is a spot here, you've got him coming off the heels of a loss against Blachowicz where he didn't look that good. He pretty much looked kind of flat the whole fight. This is back in his home. This is back in his spot where he's going to be very comfortable, and I think he's going to look to put a stamp on this fight. And again, the striking are just worlds apart. I think that that's going to be, no way can Vettori sit there and outstrike him for 5 rounds. I think Israel chips away at the legs, keeps moving forward, lands some big shots. I think middle to the end of this fight, you will see Israel Adesanya get that knockout victory. So again, this is not a client play. This is not a massive play. This is definitely, these props, I like to put, half a unit on compared to 3 or 4 on my client plays. So this is one here. I want exposure on this. I love the plus money here. I like Israel Adesanya to get this victory. But if you want to get off that big number, you take the winning by knockout plus 190 for Israel Adesanya. And then the other fight we're going to talk about real quickly is the co-main event between Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. This one here, now you've got Figueiredo is minus 250, and you've got Moreno is plus 205. Now this is another one here where I want to get off the big number, and I want to first quickly kind of go down their last fight also and talk about what I saw going into this fight, because I think there is a lot to take out of that first fight. And first thing, reason being, is I think that Figueiredo absolutely took him lightly. I think you see that when you first kind of look at that fight and you kind of watch it, where that first round, and maybe even, I would say leading into that second round, Figueiredo was, he definitely is a little bit more of a cocky fighter when it comes to his hands down, a little bit flashy, but he looked like he had, even moving into that first round, he had no respect for Moreno at all. And even you hear the announcers kind of say, he has zero respect for him. He was walking him down. He was right in Moreno's face right away, landing big shots, throwing monster shots. The one thing that Figueiredo was doing throughout this fight, and again, we'll kind of talk about round by round a little bit here, but is he was throwing bombs. I mean, and he was throwing bombs from beginning to end, and he was willing to even when he missed, he's way out of position when he was missing. It didn't seem like that sharpshooter, that sniper mentality where he utilizes that striking, throws some big shots, level changes where he needs to, mixing it up. He didn't really have that in this fight. And I think because he thought he would walk into this fight, I'll push out that cardio, I'll push out a big pace, and I'm going to knock him out in that first or second round. When Moreno didn't go anywhere early in that fight, and he was just eating shot after shot after shot, that's where I think Figueiredo said, wait a minute, and even I think that, and again, the announcers kind of say it too, I forget who they were, kind of saying, I think Figueiredo didn't think Moreno would be here in that second and the third round. I think he thought, I'm going to steamroll through him, and I'm going to move on to the next fighter. And this was a spot here where I think the game changing was that first round was Figueiredo, second round, I would say most of it was Figueiredo, and then until the game changer where really changed, I think, just the complexity of the fight, was when Moreno landed a big right hook, middle of that second round, and rocked Figueiredo. He kind of backpedaled a little bit, and that's, I think, where he knows he's in a brawl, he knows he's in a fight. Moreno ain't going anywhere, and this was by here where I think, some takedowns were taken. You had Moreno who level changed a couple times, couldn't keep Figueiredo down, but level changed a couple times. He got back up. He was able to, strike back and forth. Then you did have the low blow that happened. I believe that was the third round. We had the low blow. He loses a point. There was a lot of things kind of going into that fight there where I think really a big part was, and again, Figueiredo was known for not the best gas tank, but he blew his gas early. And I think that he really did, although he lasted, and he still actually looked pretty good going into that fifth round where he still had volume. Even when he got rocked, he still was able to kind of, come back too, because Moreno rocked him in that fourth round, and it almost looked like Figueiredo was going to be dropped. So there was a lot of things going on there too, but going into it. But I think that definitely in this kind of fight here, there's a lot of different things when you want to take a look at their last fight, and am I reading into some of this a little bit too much? Am I not reading into it a little too much? But a big part of this is the fact that, and again, this is something that multiple people have talked about. This is not a rumor that Figueiredo had food poisoning the night before the fight. Now, how close was it to when he came back to the arena and he was getting ready for the fight? And that I'm not sure, but they said the night before, and Dana White has talked about this, that he had food poisoning going into that fight. Literally left the hospital and went to the cage. Apparently, that's what they say. That's massive. I mean, if you've got somebody who's sick, ill, whether he's vomiting, whether he's just not keeping fluids down, or whatever it may be, that's a big, big, big change compared to what's going to happen in this fight. And although Figueiredo I thought looked good, this is a spot here where I really believe that Figueiredo goes out there and he puts a beating on Moreno. I think he's going to be a little bit more smarter. I don't think that he's going to go out there and look for the big bomb right away, but I think he's just going to realize he can sit back for a little bit, wait for the big shots. I think he's a lot faster, better hand speed, bigger, stronger than Moreno is. The big thing with Moreno is that he just has a granite chin and he's able to take those shots. Here in this situation, I think that Figueiredo figured, I land a couple of my big shots, he's going down. He didn't. I think now he knows he needs to mix it up. He needs to work the body a little bit, something that he did a little bit later in that fight. I think he knows he needs to throw more leg kicks. He can't just headhunt because Moreno ain't going anywhere. So I think he mixes it up and he slowly starts to pick him apart, moving the same kind of thing, moving into the middle of the fight, moving into the later of the fight. I think he's going to land some big shots here. So for me here, I like Figueiredo via knockout plus 205. I think that is very juicy. Getting off the big number again here too. I think that it's absolutely possible that he can go out there too. And again, I've kind of teetered back and forth, even just inside the distance. If he's looking for the, if you kind of want to include the submission possibility, you've got inside the distance is plus 140. So these are good spots here. I think that there's a finish coming here on Figueiredo's side. I think he absolutely can go out there, get the job done. I think that again, he did not realize how amazing the chin is of Figueiredo. You could hit that guy with a brick and he ain't going anywhere. So he's gonna have to work the body, pick apart his legs, and then slowly, take him down and beat him that way. So I like Davis Figueiredo via inside the distance. You can go plus 140, or you can do the via knockout if you're looking for a little bit more juice at plus 205. Those are my plays for UFC 263. I love these props here. I think great plus money. And again, these are not client plays. These are not massive plays that I'm putting a boatload on. These are 1 unit plays, maybe a little bit less than 1 unit. Want to have some exposure on it. If you want to see my client plays, link down in the description. Last week again, hit both of our 4% plays. I have 2 4% plays locked and loaded, ready to go. Take a look at them, and we will see how we do. This is Kyle Anthony's UFC Betting Show, and we'll see you next time.